higher end, also just good. So it's yes, yes. The biggest thing I can say is once you start, you have to stay consistent.
Mhm.
You know, if you're gonna plan to upload like one video a week, you know, let your followers know, hey, I'm gonna upload a video a week on this day, and stick with it and do it. I think the biggest thing that's helped me is just staying consistent. You got to stay consistent because if someone starts following you and then all of a sudden you go like 3 weeks or a month without uploading, then they're gonna be like, oh, they're gonna forget about you. So you have to stay consistent, keep putting out content, and listen to what they're asking for too. Try to cater to what they really want to see as well.
Okay. And has YouTube created any opportunities for you?
I've been able to get like a few sponsors to help with some of my tournament costs.
Okay.
That's helped me out over the last couple of years. I've been able to get a few sponsors here and there. Hopefully, I'll still be able to get some more, and for future tournaments as well. Just trying to help offset my costs for traveling. Because tournaments are not cheap,
Yeah,
traveling and
absolutely.
competing. And I would say it's I've gotten a few like gear companies and clothing companies to send me some stuff as well. But I
Hmm.
would say that's really the main thing that it's really helped me.
And what about collaborations? Have you had any collaborations with any stars that we might know?
I've collabed with Shane Faison.
Yes.
He's in LA. I've collabed with
Hmm.
him a couple times. It's been a few years since I collabed with him, but I've gone out and hung out with him on two different occasions out in LA. He's probably the biggest one that I've collabed with.
Yes. And who's your idol? Who do you idolize in the Taekwondo world?
Um, I don't know. I look up to a lot of different people. I would say there's not really one particular person. Just just a lot of just the high level Taekwondo athletes. I follow a lot of them. Some of them are on like the UK team, or
Hmm. Who do you follow on
just
the UK team?
like Jade Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Lauren Williams. I follow
Yeah.
them.
Bianca?
Um,
Do you follow Bianca Walkden?
yes, I do follow her as well. And then Aaron Cook.
Yeah.
A lot of them. They put out a lot of really cool training videos and stuff. So I like watching them. Just
Hmm.
getting some ideas. But just like a lot of just different people who compete on that level.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
a lot of there's a lot of different fighters. So a lot of people that compete on that level. I just like following them just to kind of get some inspiration from them because they work really hard.
Yeah. Do you ever try out any of their training drills?
I try to sometimes. I feel like I'm really slow compared to them when I try some of their combinations.
Yeah, I was watching. Jade's been putting a few programs together recently in the last couple of
Hmm.
weeks, and they do work incredibly hard.
Yes.
I mean, 1,000 kicks is incredibly hard.
Oh
But
yeah, yeah.
I sort of watched. I was watching a video, and they did a live session with sparring and doing some sparring drills, which were really hard work. And then they pointed out that they'd actually been training an hour before they were doing that drills.
Wow.
So that's when you realise that there are levels and there are
Yes, yes,
additional
definitely.
levels past.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about your students a bit more.
Hmm.
What are your goals for your students? Have you trained your first black belt yet?
You mean like talking about from like white to black?
Yeah.
Um, Not yet. I haven't been there long enough yet because I've been with that school about 2.5 years. Some
Hmm.
of them are getting closer, definitely getting
Yes.
closer to that level probably in the next year or so.
Hmm.
But I have trained some people up from like white belt up to about, I think some of them are like brown, red belts up to that
Okay.
advanced level. So
So how do the belt system work in WT then? Sounds like it's different than ITF Taekwondo. What are the actual grades? You obviously start at white belt the same.
uh-huh.
How do the next grades go?
So ours might be a little different than normal WT
Mhm.
systems because our base of our school is WT Taekwondo. That's like kind of the base, but
Yes.
we also teach like weapons and like we will teach them basic hand strikes. As they get kind of a little bit more advanced, we'll teach a little bit of like takedowns and stuff like that. So
Hmm.
our school isn't like a typical WT school.
Okay.
We do teach a lot more. Our base is the Taekwondo, But then as they start progressing a little bit more, get a little bit more advanced, we start broadening it and teaching a little bit more.
And with the weapons training, do you compete with weapons as well? Is
No.
that like a fixed form that you do with the weapons?
We do some basic like fixed forms. We teach like at the lower level, they learn like the eskrima stick. They'll learn
Yeah.
like some basic, just like eight combination moves with that they have to memorize. And then as they get higher, they'll learn like basic movements with like a bow staff. And then once you get to a black belt level, you'll learn an actual full on form with a bow staff. We teach sai, nunchucks,
Wow.
and then sword as well. So
God.
we teach a lot of different stuff. Once you get to the black belt level, you learn all of that. So you definitely not a typical WT school. You learn like a lot. Once you get higher up, you learn a lot more.
So where do these influences come from? I mean, the weapons that you're talking about, like sword and staff and things like that, sound like kung fu or orientated. Where are these influences coming from, and
Yes.
who teaches them?
So the grandmaster of the school, his father learned a lot of different martial arts, and that's basically where he learned them all from. So he's kind of we kind of try to blend a lot of different styles once you get up to the higher level. That way, it also gives our black belt something else to try to learn too, because I think a lot
Yeah.
of schools, once you get to a black belt level, there's not a whole lot of curriculum or new stuff for them to learn, and they tend to get bored. So I think that is something really good for our school, because myself, coming into this school, I've never used an eskrima stick, a bow staff,
Yeah.
or nunchucks, any of that before. So
Absolutely.
when I came into this school, I was like, wow, I've got to learn all this stuff, and I
Yeah.
have learned it now. So I think that's pretty cool.
Wow. How long did it take to learn?
I'm definitely, there's some stuff that I'm still not super good at, but
Do you still keep hitting yourself in the back of the head with the nunchucks?
luckily no. Luckily no. I have had to learn a couple forms with the nunchucks, and it was definitely difficult. But I think I've kind of gotten the hang of everything now, at least for the basic stuff. Maybe not everything super good, but I can at least do the forms.
Okay. So tell me your best moment in Taekwondo.
I would say probably last year, probably competing at nationals last year, placing second. I think that was probably one of my biggest highlights, especially recently. Because competition is something I just really, really enjoy, really love. So I think that's probably the biggest things. And then probably like a couple of the tests, like being able to, like last week, being able to break through those bricks last week was
That was very impressive.
definitely a really big accomplishment. Yeah, I think probably a couple of the tests maybe for my second dan as well, because that was a big thing. Because when I tested for my first dan in 2008.
Yes.
And basically my Taekwondo school I was with closed down. So I went like
Okay.
pretty much 10 years without testing or really having a stable school to train at.
Okay.
So being able to, 10 years later, be able to actually test and pursue my rank for second dan was probably a big thing for me too.
So what did you do in those 10 years? Were you teaching yourself? Were you on YouTube? How did you keep your motivation and keep your skill level up?
Yeah, a little bit of both. So like when it first closed down, some of the instructors that were at that school, they kind of jumped around different places teaching, but it was never anything real stable or consistent. They would maybe teach out of one space for like 2 or 3 months and then go like 6 months to 8 months without teaching anywhere, and then find another space to teach at. So it was really kind of all over the place. I started learning a little bit of like jujitsu and kickboxing as well. So I have a little bit of experience in that. And then eventually it just came to a point where they weren't teaching anywhere. So then I made a little training room where we were living, matted it. I'm like, well, I'm going to document everything for YouTube and then try to work on getting back in shape as well. And that's kind of how everything started. Just kind of, I would say a bulk of it for probably several years was just me training on my own. That was definitely really hard.
So with you saying that that you've documented that, then is that available on your YouTube channel?
Yes. So a lot of my older stuff, I would say from 2013 to maybe like 2016, early 2017, most of that was when I was training on my own, just in my little training space. all of that was on my own.
Gosh, that's very impressive. I mean, it's very, very difficult to be able to keep self-motivated, especially if you're not under an instructor. You know, I can imagine. I mean, now is going to be a test. In fact, now is a similar sort of test to all martial artists. Now that we're all in lockdown, you know, this will attest whether or not you've got that ability to be able to remain motivated. But to be able to do that for 10 years is incredibly impressive.
There were definitely some times where I went maybe like 6 months without really doing much training, you know, here and there. But I would say probably 2016 is when I started to really try to get a consistent schedule, get back in better shape. And I decided I want to try to compete again too as well. So just finding some goals and just trying to just keep on training, just pushing yourself.
Yeah. So I was going to ask you, what's the worst thing that's ever happened to you in Taekwondo? Was there ever a moment where you thought, you know, it's not for me?
I mean, when I first started, I would say maybe like the first 6 months when I first started, when I was younger, I didn't really want to do it. I didn't really like it that much. I would say once I started competing and sparring, that's when I started to enjoy it. So I think up until that, I didn't really like it that much. I didn't even really want to spar at first. But I think once I started, you know, competing and like sparring and realizing, hey, this is actually kind of fun. I'm not really getting hurt too much. Then I started to enjoy it. But I would say at first I definitely was like, I don't know if this is going to be for me. I don't know if I'm going to make it that far in this.
Yeah.
Not really enjoying this that much. But yeah, I would say once I started kind of finding my groove and realizing I really like sparring, from there on out, it was pretty easy. I was like, yeah, I like this. I enjoy this. I want to keep doing this.
I think that's quite interesting because we've interviewed quite a few people, you know, very top level athletes right the way through, and it's funny that probably I would say 70% have said that they didn't enjoy it when they started.
Yeah.
but they grew to love it.
Yeah.
And they're still doing it now. But it's just an interesting fact that they all said, you know what, I was ready to quit, but I kept doing it, and now I absolutely love it. So so there's obviously some sort of journey by the sounds of things that you have to go through a transition to really find your love for that particular martial art. So when you tried out these other martial arts, the jiu-jitsu and what else was it? Kickboxing?
Some kickboxing.
How did you feel trying those? Did you not feel that you might have wanted to take a downgrading in one of those other martial arts as well?
I did enjoy it, and at one point I did want to maybe eventually like have like an MMA fight. At one point I did enjoy it, learning the basics, but then after a while, I would say after maybe like 6 months kind of like doing it, I kind of missed Taekwondo. It kind of always kind of led back to, I kind of just missed like just kicking and like doing the Taekwondo. So I think that's kind of like, I did enjoy it, but then I'm like, I kind of get a little bit bored. I want to go back to Taekwondo. Good.
Yeah. Well, it's just nice to know that passion has remained with you all this time, because as I say, a 10-year break, to be honest, it's quite funny because I share that with you. I took a 10-year break from Taekwondo, having done my black belt grading in 1999, and then I had some young children. So once I had my children, it was very, very difficult to actually make it to the dojang every week. So I had to make a decision, and the decision at that time, with the kids being quite demanding, was okay. They need me now, so I'm gonna stay with them, which I did for a period of time. And then after that period of time, it came to the point of, right, when I started to say I'm leaving, I would say bye. Whereas before, when I was leaving, they'd start crying.
Yeah.
So once I realized that they were more than happy for me to be leaving, I thought, it's time for me to start my martial arts back up again.
Hmm.
And similar to you, I actually went off then and thought I'd try and mix my martial arts a little bit to make me more sort of grounded.
Hmm.
And went off and did Kung Fu, Lao Ga Kung Fu for 6 years.
Okay.
Um, and then after the 6 years, the kids got a bit older and they were old enough to train with me. And we all did Taekwondo.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I kind of feel we got a bit of a connection there because I
Hmm.
lost 10 years. And
Hmm.
when I came back, it sticks with me today. Some of the people that I train with now are fourth and fifth dans,
Hmm. Yeah.
and I used to teach them when
Oh,
I
wow.
was so so it's a funny thing, isn't it? Martial arts and taekwondo, and if you're not there all the time, how much you can miss in such a short period of time.
Definitely.
That's why I was asking how you managed to hold it together for 10 years, because I can
Hmm.
wholly understand how difficult that would be.
Yeah.
So when you trained originally, how long were you with your original instructor?
I think it was about 4 years. 4 years.
4 years. Okay.
Hmm.
So what you trained to black belt?
Yeah, so I trained to my
Okay.
first degree black belt. Hmm.
Okay. So you did your first degree, and then that school unfortunately closed down.
Hmm.
So tell me, you've said that you've adapted to the COVID crisis, and now you're teaching on Zoom. How do you think things are going to change when we come out of this crisis?
Yeah, that's tough. So technically, where I'm at here, our state has actually allowed us to legally reopen. Like they've allowed gyms to reopen, fitness centers to
Okay,
reopen.
gosh,
Yes, it's definitely. I think it's a
already?
little. Yes,
Did you
they.
did you did you have a lockdown and then they've said they've relaxed the lockdown?
Yeah, so we kind of had a lockdown a little bit.
Hmm.
Um, and basically, yeah, so as of last Friday, they said, oh, gyms and fitness centers and like nail salons and like hair places can reopen again. A
Gosh,
lot of places obviously aren't going to reopen because we think it's a
yeah.
little too soon.
Hmm.
Um, so we're just kind of just seeing how things go over the next few weeks
Hmm.
before we decide if we're going to maybe start opening up. It'll probably still be quite a while before we start doing in-person classes. Once
Yeah.
we do that, we're probably going to do like a hybrid schedule, like a couple days in person, but you have to reserve your spot, and we're only going to allow a certain amount of people in.
Okay.
And then the other days we'll keep doing Zoom classes for a while. So we're
That's,
just kind of playing it by ear for now.
that's interesting. If if that is the situation, I'd love to be able to talk to you again in maybe
Hmm.
4 weeks' time, and say you can tell us how that's going. Because
Yeah.
I mean, we can't see being out of lockdown for the foreseeable future. Maybe at least another 2 months.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see how different clubs deal with being let back out again.
Yeah.
Because it's do you feel the same as I, whereby it's going to be a completely different world when we go back out there to train?
I think it's going to be a little bit different, definitely. Especially, martial arts being, some of the stuff being kind of close contact. I think it'll definitely be, we'll have to take a little bit more precautions, staying a little bit clean, definitely extra clean, in the
Hmm.
schools, we're planning on like disinfecting everything in between every single class, not doing anything too close, especially for quite a while. But
Hmm.
I think it will change things a little bit. Yeah.
Have you seen a loss of membership?
Not too much. No, we've had maybe like a couple people, but I think a lot of our members they want to see us, survive. At the end of this, once everything's able to reopen, they want us to still be there. A
Hmm.
lot of them are really enjoying our Zoom classes. We're trying to make it, seem pretty much exactly the same as if they were in person. We're doing the best we can to make it the exact same. So they're really enjoying we've gotten a lot of positive feedback from our students. They're loving our Zoom classes.
Okay, and how do you think that will change the way that you instruct in the future? Do you think that there will be an area of online training that you will now continue after this is over?
Possibly. We'll have to see. I think it just depends on how everything, if things really truly like go back to normal or not. I think it really just depends how things are. It's so hard to tell, so hard to tell what's gonna happen.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Somebody's asked me, ask her about her husband. Said your husband seems to be very helpful.
Yes, he helps me a lot. He helps me film. He helps me if I need help, someone holding targets for me to train. He's definitely my number one supporter and everything. He helps me, pushes me to always be active and posting on social media when I may not feel like it as much too. So he's definitely that number one supporter for me.
Have you ever injured him behind the pad?
No, he may have gotten a few bruises here and there, but other than that, no.
I mean, we posted some videos and of people missing, and usually it seems to be quite painful if that technique's not quite in the right place.
Uh-huh.
Does that ever happen?
No. Luckily, I'm pretty accurate. I don't do anything too risky.
So does he do martial arts? Does he also do Taekwondo?
So he's from he was born in Thailand. So when growing up, he did a little bit of like Muay Thai as a kid. When he came over to the U.S., he did do a little bit of Taekwondo. But right now, just every now and then, he'll play around with me and just kind of throw some kicks here and there. But he's into weightlifting right now, so that's kind of his thing.
Okay. Oh my word. So Muay Thai, is he showing you any Muay Thai techniques?
A little bit, and I learned, I picked up some kickboxing and stuff, so I've got a little bit of that experience. But he showed me a little bit of stuff too.
Would you be able to defend yourself against him?
I think so.
I'd take that as a yes then.
Yeah, I think so. I've got the flexibility too. He's not very flexible.
So let's brush on flexibility. What's your training regime? Let's deal with a typical day in the life of Alex Wong first and foremost. What's a typical day like for you?
So today I woke up and I went and trained for about an hour and a half this morning. Basically I do just like a little 5-minute warm up. I did my 1,000 kicks today, varying, yeah, just like different stuff. That's a typical training session. A lot of my sessions, when I do sessions on my own, I typically will do 1,000 kicks, different stuff, and then I started adding in some leg workouts today too. So that's kind of, and then I'll stretch a little bit. I need to stretch more. I actually don't stretch that much, but I need to stretch more than I'm doing. Definitely.
When you say 1,000 kicks, are you doing 1,000 of the same kick, or are you doing 1,000 kicks?
Yeah, it's different. A lot of the drills are kind of, I mean, a lot of the kicks are just roundhouse kicks, but they're like done differently, like alternating or repeating or like continuous. But I'm trying to, now that I'm kind of building up my endurance, try to mix in some more